I never imagined humiliation could arrive dressed in silk, diamonds, and vintage champagne. There I sat in the third row of my younger sister's wedding at a stunning waterfront estate in Savannah, Georgia. I wore the only formal dress still in my closet, a modest emerald green number I'd bought on sale years ago, doing my best to fade into a crowd of people who all looked magazine-ready, pearls gleaming, tans perfect. My 8-year-old son, Noah, sat beside me in a little navy suit I'd saved for over 2 paychecks. He swung his legs under the white-cloth table, eyes shining with pride. He truly believed this day might finally make us feel like we belonged in the family again. A tiny, hopeful part of me had believed it too. My sister, Harper, glided through the afternoon like she was born for red carpets. She always had that glow. Stunning, charismatic, adored. Our mother, Margaret, practically lived to praise her. Harper collected admiration the way some collect vintage postcards. I collected quiet comparisons. She owned the spotlight. I learned how to survive in the shadows. Yet I showed up. I smiled. I clapped when the couple kissed. I kept my tone light when distant relatives asked, "You're the older sister? You really don't look like you have an 8-year-old. Then came the toasts. The groom's college roommate went first. Safe, mildly funny stories about tailgates and late-night drives down the coast. Polite laughter. Then Harper rose. I expected something tender, maybe memories of childhood summers crabbing on Tybee Island, shared secrets, sisterly love. I even lifted my glass slightly, ready to cheer her happiness. I should have known, went first. Safe, mildly funny stories about tailgates and late-night drives down the coast. Polite laughter. Then Harper rose. I expected something tender, maybe memories of childhood summers crabbing on Tybee Island, shared secrets, sisterly love. I even lifted my glass slightly, ready to cheer her happiness. I should have known better. She raised her flute, the crystal catching every chandelier sparkle, and offered that flawless, practiced smile. "Thank you all for being here," she began, voice warm and luminous. "It means the world to share the happiest day of my life with the people who matter most. And of course, I have to say a few words about my big sister." I turned to Noah and gave him a small, reassuring smile. He looked up at me, excited. For one naive heartbeat, I thought kindness was coming. Harper continued, tone light as sea breeze, edged like broken glass. "Allison has always been such an inspiration. A single mom, fiercely independent, raising a child entirely on her own. Obviously because no one else was interested in a position." Laughter burst across the room like fireworks. My stomach plummeted. I told myself I'd misheard, but she kept smiling, as though she'd just told the evening's cleverest joke. Some guests looked startled, others laughed harder, clinking glasses like it was all good-natured fun. Noah tugged my sleeve. "Mom, why did Aunt Harper say that?" Before I could answer, Margaret, seated at the prime family table up front, leaned forward and called out, loud enough for 3 tables to hear, "She's pre-owned merchandise, but honestly, she still scrubs up pretty nice for 34. The laughter turned vicious, unrestrained, the kind that slices straight through skin and leaves you bleeding in front of strangers. My face flamed, my pulse hammered in my ears. I gripped the linen napkin beneath the table until my nails dug crescents into my palms, refusing to let tears fall. Not here. Not in front of my boy. Not in front of them. I scanned the room for one kind gaze, one flicker of compassion. Grandpa Ellis stared at his untouched shrimp cocktail. My cousin scrolled Instagram with a smirk. Even Uncle Travis, who used to say I had my late father's stubborn heart, kept his eyes on his bourbon. Noah looked bewildered, brows knit, hurt flickering in those big hazel eyes. That was the moment something inside me shattered. Not from the insult, not from the mockery, but from watching my son try to comprehend why the people smiling and raising glasses were suddenly laughing at his mother. I wanted to flee. Grab Noah's hand, walk out, never return. but my legs felt rooted. Then a chair scraped back, sharp, deliberate. The groom, Harper's polished, charming fiancé Jackson, stood slowly. He didn't smile. He didn't glance at Harper. He didn't acknowledge the crowd. His eyes locked directly on me. The entire ballroom went still. In that instant, I knew this wasn't going to be a quick joke to smooth things over. This was something deeper. A reckoning. My name is Allison. I'm 34, single mom, the family's walking warning label. I live in a small 2-bedroom rental in Pooler, just outside Savannah. Noah is 8, the brightest light of my life and the only reason I ever step back into rooms that once shrank me. I work mornings at a little coffee roastery on Whitaker Street and evenings at the front desk of a boutique inn downtown. The schedule is grueling, the paycheck modest, but it's ours. On Saturdays, I make Noah chocolate chip pancakes. I can patch holes in his favorite jeans with iron-on stars. He tells me I'm his superhero. That's enough fuel to keep going. But in my family, single motherhood meant failure. Margaret believes in appearances above all else. She still calls Harper's wedding the family's redemption story. Harper is 5 years younger, always beautiful, always accomplished, always given every advantage she then made look effortless. The golden child. If Harper so much as sniffled, Margaret arrived with chamomile tea and cashmere. If I caught the flu, I was told to take NyQuil and stop being dramatic. When I got pregnant with Noah at 25, the world tilted permanently. I was deeply in love with him, a man who swore he'd stay. By month 6, he vanished. No note, no call, just gone. My family didn't ask how I was coping. They didn't offer help. They offered folded arms, tight lips, and the inevitable, "We warned you." But I had Noah. Holding him for the first time drowned every cruel word in white noise. Still, some stubborn corner of my heart hoped they'd eventually see me. Not just the single mom, but the woman who refused to quit. That's why, when Harper's ivory and gold wedding invitation arrived, I said yes. Even though I wasn't in the bridal party. Even though my name was misspelled on the reply card. Even though I rented the dress and did my hair in the bathroom mirror while Noah practiced his tie beside me. I told myself it was for closure. Maybe, just maybe, this was their subtle way of letting me back in. The venue was breathtaking. Historic mansion overlooking the river, white garden roses everywhere, gold-rimmed china, a string quartet playing soft Southern standards. Harper looked like she belonged in a bridal editorial, radiant, sparkling, soaking up every compliment and flash. When she passed our table, her smile flickered. "You made it," she said, as though surprised. She glanced at Noah. "He's getting so tall." No embrace, no warmth, just polite filler before she floated back to center stage. Margaret walked right past me like I was hired help. But Noah was enchanted. He whispered that the chandeliers looked like giant floating jellyfish and that Harper looked like a real-life princess. Seeing his joy, I decided to stay for the reception. Our table, number 14, was tucked near the bar and the restrooms. I gave a dry inner laugh. Perfect. We ate our salads. I wiped chocolate mousse off Noah's tie. I avoided Margaret's gaze. I tried to tune out the whispers carrying my name across clinking stemware. Then the speeches began, and I understood this night was never about reconciliation. It was another platform for Harper to dazzle. And I was about to become her punchline. Harper stood with impeccable posture, flute in hand, gown shimmering like liquid moonlight. The room hushed instantly. "Thank you all for being here," she began sweetly. "I'm surrounded by the people who mean the most to me." I tried to believe I was included. She spoke lovingly about Jackson, about fate, about perfect timing. I started to relax. Maybe it wouldn't turn ugly. Then her tone shifted. "And, of course," she said, sly smile blooming, "I have to give a special shout-out to my big sister." The spotlight found me. I sat up straighter, smiled politely. "You've always been such a powerful example," Harper continued. Voice sweet, but barbed. Voice sweet, but barbed. Raising a child completely alone. No husband, no partner, just you, and whoever was generous enough to watch him sometimes. Chuckles rolled through the room. My stomach clenched. But honestly, she pressed on, it's remarkable. A single mom, unwanted by anyone, and yet here she is. Real laughter now. Loud, unfiltered. My breath caught. My cheeks burned. My hands froze around the napkin. Noah frowned, confused, glancing around like he was trying to solve a riddle that hurt. Then Margaret laughed loudest. She leaned toward her table and stage whispered, "Pre-owned goods, but she still cleans up. Nice for her age." Another vicious wave of laughter, cruel, careless. My vision blurred. It felt like a slap with no hand touching me. Noah leaned close. "Mom, what does that mean?" I couldn't speak. I couldn't shield him from this. I searched for an exit, for anyone who might say, "Enough!" No one did. Some looked uneasy, but unease isn't bravery. They stared at champagne flutes, phones, plates. Grandpa Ellis wouldn't meet my eyes. I was alone again. I could have endured it if it were only me. I'd swallowed worse for years. I could have smiled tightly, taken Noah's hand, left quietly. But seeing my son's confusion, watching him try to understand why his mother, the woman who read him extra chapters and kissed every scraped knee, was suddenly the joke, that cracked me open. I stood, not with a plan, not for drama. I just needed air. I needed to breathe without swallowing their shame. I pushed my chair back, hands trembling. Then another chair scraped, louder, purposeful. Jackson stood. He looked pale, jaw set. He took the microphone from Harper without asking. The room froze. No laughter, no murmurs, just heavy silence. Jackson didn't smile. He didn't look at Harper. He didn't scan the crowd. His eyes found mine and held. "Allison," he said quietly. "Don't go." Everyone turned. Whispers hissed like wind through marsh grass. Harper stiffened. Margaret narrowed her eyes. Jackson stepped forward slowly, each footfall deliberate. "I've heard a lot about family this past year," he said, voice steady. "About tradition, loyalty, keeping up appearances." He stopped near our table, me, Noah, the cooling plates. "What I just witnessed wasn't family," he continued. "That was cruelty wearing a celebration dress." Guests shifted uncomfortably. He turned to Harper. "You mocked your sister for being a single mother, for raising a child without help, loyalty, keeping up appearances." He stopped near our table, me, Noah, the cooling plates. "What I just witnessed wasn't family," he continued. "That was cruelty wearing a celebration dress." Guests shifted uncomfortably. He turned to Harper. "You mocked your sister for being a single mother, for raising a child without help. You laughed. And worse, you made her 8-year-old son witness it." Harper opened her mouth. No sound emerged. Jackson didn't pause. "She didn't ask to be put on display today. She didn't beg for sympathy. She showed up. She sat in the back. She smiled. She brought her son to celebrate you. And you turned it into a punchline." I'd never seen Harper look small until that moment. Jackson faced the room. "Allison didn't stand up here to defend herself. She never needed a stage. But I won't stay silent. Because if this is the family I'm marrying into, one that mistakes cruelty for humor and shame for tradition, then I need to seriously reconsider the man I want to become." A collective gasp rippled. Someone whispered, "Is this really happening?" A fork clattered. Noah looked up at me, eyes wide. Jackson crouched slightly, meeting my son's gaze. "Your mom is the strongest person in this room, little man. Never forget it." Then he straightened, looked at the crowd once more. "I've seen enough." He set the microphone down, walked past Harper without a glance, and left through the tall French doors. The room remained frozen. No music, no chatter. just the hum of air conditioning and the faint clink of melting ice. The fairy tale had shattered. But for the first time in years, I wasn't the broken piece. The moment Jackson vanished, the atmosphere shifted, but not toward celebration. No applause, no rush to Harper's side. Margaret stood abruptly, chair screeching. "What an ungrateful man," she hissed. "Humiliating you in front of everyone, just like your sister. Selfish to the bone." Her voice cracked. The usual power was gone. Her words fell flat. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. For the first time, I didn't shrink under her tone. I looked at Noah. "Are we leaving now?" he asked softly. "Yes, sweetheart," I said, smoothing his hair. "We're going home." I took his hand and stood tall. People parted. Some avoided my eyes. Others looked like they wanted to speak but couldn't. Halfway to the door, a voice called, "Allison." I turned. Grandpa Ellis, eyes red. He stood slowly. "I'm sorry," he said, voice shaking. "I should have stopped it years ago." I nodded. I didn't hate him. I knew how heavy silence becomes when carried too long. Outside, the night air carried salt and magnolia. Noah squeezed my hand. "Is the wedding over?" I smiled. "Yeah, baby. I think it ended exactly the way it needed to." We drove home on Highway 80, radio off, just tires humming and Noah tapping the door handle. That night, I tucked him in, kissed his forehead, lingered in the doorway. Next morning, my phone overflowed. Missed calls from distant cousins, texts from near strangers. A friend sent a link. "Someone filmed Jackson's speech. It's viral. Over 100,000 views already. Read the comments." I opened it. Jackson's calm voice calling out an entire room. Me in the background, holding Noah's hand. Comments flooded. "This guy just became every single mom's hero. She deserved so much better." I'm in tears. This is real family. Single moms everywhere just gotta win. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I simply felt still. Like a knot inside me, tied for a decade, had finally loosened. Harper tried to spin it. "He overreacted," she posted. "Just a joke. People are too sensitive." But the truth had landed. No one laughed anymore. Days later, a small bouquet of sunflowers arrived at my door. No card, just a note. To the lioness. I knew who sent it. The wedding never happened. Jackson and Harper quietly ended the engagement. No drama, no statement, just erasure. Harper returned to her curated life. Photos from that night vanished. She never contacted me. I didn't expect her to. Margaret called once, not to apologize, but to say I'd embarrassed the family by not laughing along. I listened 30 seconds, then said, "I'm not your scapegoat anymore." I hung up. It wasn't dramatic. It was final. I realized I didn't need their apology. I didn't need them to see my worth. I just needed to stop waiting for their permission to claim it. Life didn't change overnight. I still work long shifts. Some nights Noah gets pancakes while I eat salad. But I carry myself differently. I don't hide in back rows. I don't apologize for taking up space. Noah changed too. He asks bigger questions now. Why are people mean? Why are others brave? He talks about Jackson like he's a superhero. Sometimes he lines up action figures and gives speeches, defending the underdog. One night, brushing teeth, he looked at me in the mirror, toothpaste on his chin. "Mom, are you still sad about what Aunt Harper said?" I paused. "Not anymore. Why?" He shrugged. "Because you won, even though it wasn't a fight." He was right. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't demand justice. I simply stood, took my son's hand, and walked away with whatever dignity remained. And someone unexpected decided silence wasn't enough. Jackson didn't just defend me. He showed everyone what real love looks like. Not the kind in tuxedos or down aisles, but the kind that sees pain and says, "Not today." What I've learned. Being alone doesn't mean you're unwanted. Kindness isn't weakness. Dignity, once reclaimed, belongs to you forever. I didn't dance at my sister's wedding. I didn't catch a bouquet, or toast under string lights, but I left with something better than approval. My head high, my son beside me, and the quiet certainty I no longer need to justify my existence. That was the ending no one predicted, and exactly the one I deserved. If this story stirred something in you, if you've ever felt small, silenced, or disposable in a room that should have protected you, hear this. Your voice matters. Your worth is not negotiable. You are never truly alone. If Allison's journey gave you strength, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to know they're enough, and leave a comment below. I read everyone. Have you ever had someone stand up for you when you couldn't? Or found the courage to stand for yourself? Tell me, I want to hear your story. And if these honest, heartfelt stories that remind us what it truly means to be human resonate with you, please subscribe to Whispers of Wisdom and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one. Thank you for being here. Your support keeps this space breathing. See you in the next story.